In this video, we will be looking at product extension strategies, what they are and how they can be used to avoid a product going into the decline stage of its life cycle. As we have discussed in another video, the product life cycle is broken into 5 stages. Let's remind ourselves of each stage and take a look at a quick example. The research and development stage. Here, the product is still being created. Prototypes are being made and a great deal of market research is taking place. An example of a product in this stage would be Virgin Galactic, which is a British spaceflight company within the Virgin Group. It is developing commercial spacecraft and aims to provide space flights to tourists in the near future. The introduction stage. Here, a product is being introduced to the market and consumers are still getting to grips with it. Here, the marketing mix will focus on increasing customer awareness. An example of a product in this stage would be the Epic Games Store, a digital video game storefront run by Epic Games. Since its December 2018 release, it has been inserting itself in the market of video gaming services. The growth stage. Here, the product is seeing rapid growth and the customer base continues to grow. The marketing mix will focus on increasing the brand awareness of the product. Instagram, the social network for photo and video sharing, is a good example of a business in the growth stage. It continues to become increasingly popular and is establishing itself as one of the leaders in the social media industry. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? The maturity stage. Here, the product is at the peak of its success, but growth has begun to slow down. Some products may have particularly long maturity stages, and for others, it may be much shorter. Facebook, the long-lived social network giant, may be easily considered as one that has reached the maturity stage. Despite the scandals due to data leaks which caused some users to leave, this social network still remains one of the most used around the globe. Finally, if your product is no longer cutting it or you are unable to keep up with your competitors, your product may enter the decline stage of its life cycle. 3D televisions would be a good example of a product which is in the decline stage as sales of these units continue to fall. Unfortunately, there's no magical answer or perfect strategy on what to do to make your product survive in the market and stay there forever. In this video, we will look at some of the ways a business can try to extend a product's life cycle. But first, let's introduce this video's main example. This is Prisha Kapoor, and she is the lead marketing officer for Tasty Snack Foods Limited, who manufacture a cereal brand named Candy Flakes. Candy Flakes were introduced back in 2013, and after about a year moved out of the introduction stage of their product life cycle into the growth stage. With some clever advertising campaigns and identifying the best distribution channels, Candy Flakes eventually reached the maturity stage in 2019, achieving their greatest yearly sales. However, they have recently seen a decline in their sales, and the company is worried that their tasty breakfast cereal might be about to head into the decline stage of its product life cycle. Prisha has been given the important job of finding an extension strategy that will be able to keep Candy Flakes in the maturity stage, or even return to the growth stage of its product life cycle. It is important to remember that the product life cycle is only a guide to how a product is expected to behave in the market, and there are many examples of products which remain in the maturity phase for much longer than others, such as Coca-Cola, the Big Mac, or Cadbury's Dairy Milk Chocolate. Many of these successful brands have used a number of key extension strategies we are about to look at to prolong the lives of their products. When you are answering an exam question on the product life cycle, always consider that it is only a forecast of how a product will behave in the market. Just like the weather forecast, these predictions are not always accurate, and an entrepreneur must be dynamic in responding to external influences outside of their control. Before we take a more detailed look at how Prisha and her team could extend the product life cycle of their product, let's consider a few other examples in an effort to improve your understanding of the process. Think back to a previous generation of gaming, when we all had an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 4. As these products began to fall into the decline phase, the businesses implemented some extension strategies. In an effort to continue the product's maturity stage, Sony and Microsoft added the Kinect and PS Groove. These devices aim to extend the life of the product and compete against rivals Nintendo Wii. Another example could be as simple as a bagel. Take the Warburtons, for example. In an effort to extend their product's life cycle, when they began to lose market share to rival businesses, they aimed to add value by simply making their bagels pre-sliced. Sounds too easy, but this did improve the company's sales, and this straightforward adaptation of their product added convenience for the consumer. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes, and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. So what extension strategies could be used to extend the product life cycle of Candy Flakes? Firstly, Prisha could consider improving the advertising for the Candy Flakes product. She could conduct market research to find out exactly who eats the Candy Flakes cereal and aim to create an advertising campaign specifically targeting this demographic of customer. As with everything when studying business studies, it is important to consider any disadvantages or limitations of this strategy. Successful advertising can be an expensive and time-consuming process, and this is something that Prisha must consider before making this choice. To extend the product lifecycle, Prisha could consider price reduction as a possible strategy. This would involve offering the item at a reduced rate to increase interest. It would, of course, be possible for Tasty Snack Foods Limited to increase the price at a later stage, after Candy Flakes have avoided the decline stage. Of course, by reducing the price of the product, this may mean that the business begins to lose sales revenue, and if they are unable to also reduce their costs, this will negatively impact their profit margins. This could have a significant impact and lead to staff losing their jobs, or the business having difficulty paying their costs. The next strategy that she could use would be adding value. Here, the company would need to look at ways to increase the perceived value of a product. This may be achieved by adding additional benefits or features. For example, Prisha could recommend running a competition or a free gift to retain consumer interest. When a product is entering the decline stage of its life cycle, many marketers may explore new markets. For example, Prisha could investigate the idea of selling Candy Flakes in other countries across Europe, where the competition may not be so intense. However, it is always important to consider that when entering new markets, there may be significant costs involved in changing advertising and packaging to suit the culture of the new market. The money used to achieve this could be put into improving the product in other ways. Finally, Prisha may consider simply changing the product packaging, perhaps trying a new cartoon character to get the attention of the younger consumer, or even changing the logo and the colours which appear on the box. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learnt to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? Remember though, this will not always be successful and can have significant costs. A good example here is the cereal brand Cocoa Pops, which once renamed and rebranded as Choco Krispies here in the UK. After a year of advertising and building brand awareness, the decision was made to return to their former name we know and love today. We have looked at a number of different options that Prisha could consider to decrease the chance of Candy Flakes entering the decline stage. It will be down to her to carefully consider any advantages and disadvantages of these options before finally deciding on the best steps forward. Remember, consumer expectations are always evolving, and marketing teams like Prisha's must evolve with them. The ability to find ways to stretch your product's lifespan is critical in the competitive world of business. This has been the BizzWizard. See you in the next video.